All right, we are here at the beginning of the episode. We're going to be talking about a topic that's AWOL's idea, and he's not even here, Ross. He's not even
What are you
here.
doing, AWOL? I can't. Well, he doesn't even have air conditioning right now, so I don't blame him for not being here.
It's way too hot to do an episode. Let's first start with the Restream ad.
Do it.
Cast is sponsored by Restream. Why live stream to one platform when you can simultaneously live stream to every platform to discover new audiences faster using Restream.io?
Daily drop on gaming, live streaming, and social media today is the 80-20 rule. What the F is it? We've been talking about this for years. In fact, it was actually AWOL who was the person who coined the term years ago and brought the strategy mainstream. We wanted to do an episode about this because we've been seeing a lot of people successfully implementing it, but also a lot of people who have not been. And let's start there, Mr. Perrin. Let's start there because I think a lot of people may know the concept, but are not successfully implementing it. What have you seen recently that would suggest that as well?
Yeah, I follow a bunch of our creators especially on Facebook Gaming, and I get the notifications when they go live. I'm not gonna name names because they're a great streamer, but they had one. They were trying something new, which is great. I would always support trying something new, but the title was like trying something new so I can grow. And I was like, wait, are we giving the wrong idea here on the 80-20 rule? Because when we talk about it, we're talking about doing 80% of what's working and taking 20% of your time as a content creator, or you could apply this to life in general too, but let's just talk about content creator. 20% of your time, try something new. And I feel like we gave the impression that you're gonna grow because you're trying, or it's always gonna be successful, that 20% is always gonna work. Just because you're trying something new, it's gonna work and you're gonna grow. And that's not necessarily the case. That 20% is experimental. And you might try something new that completely and utterly fails. But since you're only taking 20% of your time to do it, not the full 80%, you will still have your momentum behind you because you're still doing 80% of what works. So I wanted to make sure, I've seen the 80-20 rule around a lot. I want to make sure that everyone knows it comes from the Digital Drop podcast. It was actually something that AWOL created. And B, that it's not necessarily guaranteed to make you grow, but it's a formula for success to try new things. And that by trying new things, you gain a lot of positive benefits. For example, we were going to consider doing this episode on how not to burn out. And that is one of the ways in which you don't burn out, is by trying new things. Ross, do you have some examples possibly in like your line of work where you've used the 80-20 rule, and what has been some of the benefits of that?
Oh, I use it all the time. Well, first of all, the 80-20 rule, and the reason why this is so important is because, and I could be wrong here, but I've never in my life seen a successful live streamer or a successful content creator who has done the same thing, literally consistency, for a massive amount of time and been successful with it. There's always going to be, just because of the landscape you're in, because of the industry, you're always going to have to change your approach to how you find success in your work. So for me, one of the ways that I do it, and of course, I'm just talking about social media now, but the 80-20 rule can actually be applied to just about any area of your professional life and even some outside of it. You can make it, it's one of those things you can make it fit anywhere. For me personally, using that strategy on social media, that was actually one of the ways, and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time until AWOL kind of put it into words and said, yeah, you were doing this, you just didn't know it, is 80% of the content that I post is stuff that I know is going to work, whether that be a meme that I know is going to hit, a news story that because I know my audience, I know that will hit as well. I know there's a lot of people interested in it. And then the 20% I use for things that I honestly don't know if it's going to work. And maybe it's 20%, that 20% is something that I don't think is funny, that I don't think is going to work with my audience. But then I try it. And another lesson in this is you're wrong a lot. What's funny to you or what's entertaining to you is not going to always be to your audience. So it's actually within that 20% of the things that I've posted, excuse me, the 20% that I took a chance on, it was those that actually hit. Some of the biggest posts that I have on gaming, humor, and news is part of the 20%. Literally, I mean, my biggest tweet ever was one that I kept flushing back in there because I was like, well, I want to keep this in because I want to see if this works, for the 80-20 rule. And it ended up being the biggest tweet I've literally ever had on the account. So the 80-20 rule is also, it's good for exposing your audience to new things. It's good, like you said, Perrin, to help kind of initially avoid that burnout, but it's also really good at exposing yourself. And I mean exposing yourself and trying new things that you don't think are going to work, and then they absolutely do work. Because then what happens is that will translate into other areas, and you'll start creating new things that flow, and it all circles around from this 20%. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I know. I'm remembering now, kind of thinking back on it, the history of where we came up with it too, and it started as a formula to be able to take risks in such a way that we wouldn't spook the company that we were working for. We were operating TGN Twitter account, and I think this is where it originated. We might have been applying it to the YouTube strategy for the TGN channel too, but we couldn't just like arbitrarily scrap anything we were doing and just completely try new things. We would get, we would make our managers upset or make them anxious, etc. With that brand, and we looked at it as, okay, well, we have stuff that is actually working, so let's keep that. And then on social media, you constantly have to be trying to do new things because social media evolves every day almost, and there's almost always a new player doing something new that will suddenly start working. So we wanted a formula to be able to have new ideas and to be able to take risks, but in a way that we didn't actually risk it all and destroy a social media account or destroy our engagement or destroy our audience. And we did that by systematically categorizing the strategy items, techniques that worked, and then taking 20% of the time and saying, okay, here's where we can experiment, try something new. And this is just a process of throwing things on the wall and see if it sticks. And if it sticks, then you roll that into the 80 part of the 80-20 rule. And if it doesn't, you scrap it. So it's not this idea that just because you're trying something new, when you do it, oh, there's going to be growth. No, not necessarily. It's kind of the metaphor of like the writer trying to write the right thing, and you're going to have to crumple up the paper and throw it out. Many times, you might take the risk and it might fail multiple times, but it won't destroy you because you have that 80% base. And that originated from social media when we conceptualized social media strategy, but it works insanely well for YouTube and for content creators in general. And like I said, it's because it helps you avoid burnout, but also a lot of times you think you're doing something great as a creator. Like you're streaming something, and I was doing this, you all watched the episodes where we talked about Star Citizen. And Star Citizen, I was testing that as my first Facebook gaming title. And it was doing okay. I was getting very slow growth. And I liked testing an unknown game on Facebook gaming. But what I didn't realize was by quickly switching to something new, I was kind of wasting my time. I mean, actually really wasting my time, probably a month or two. Now, granted, I loved live streaming Star Citizen at the time, but I wasn't really growing, and all I had to do was do one new thing to change it. So, I think that's what viewers possibly latched onto when I saw this, was this idea that all you have to do is like switch to a new game, and it can be greener. The grass is greener, and I wanted to make sure that you all didn't get like that grass is greener syndrome, I guess, because it isn't necessarily always greener, but it might be, and you won't know unless you try and you take a risk. So the 80-20 rule is all about safe risk taking, so you don't destroy your brand, you don't destroy the momentum that you have, but you can also scout out new opportunities and see, is there something a little bit better that's going to get me a little bit more growth? And this strategy works in social media. We found it works on YouTube. It works as live streaming. It works in your life in general. I mean, do we have examples in real life? Ross, have you like applied this in any way in your life? Because I know you've done it well. You've been doing the same, well, not the same, but you've been operating the same Twitter accounts for so many years. And so applying the 80-20 rule there kind of makes sense. Have you used it in like life in general at all anywhere?
I'm sure I have. I don't really, because I'm very precise on how I do the 80-20 rule with when it comes to my actual job and social media, that I don't really I guess journal it outside outside of that, but I'm sure I have. And just to add on to your point, the 80-20 rule, by the way, we have somebody in chat from Twitch who says, I have legit no idea what I'm talking about. Essentially, John, the 80-20 rule is when you're streaming or you're a content creator, what you're doing, 80% is what you know is going to work, but the 20% is essentially what you don't know is going to work, but you want to try. And that's important because as humans, we are routine. All of our patterns follow routine. When we get stuck in the same routine, we get comfortable, and you don't want to leave your comfort zone. But unfortunately, growth never happens outside of growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. So you have to splurge. And listen, I'm about to do something. I'm about to do this. Let's look at it this way. I'm going to apply the 80-20 rule to the 80-20 rule. I would say in that 20% that you do, 80% of the time in that 20%, it's not going to work. Am I wrong?
That would probably make sense. I would say more often than not, it'll probably fail. I mean, it's a toss. It's a total random. It can be a total random chance, but it would be interesting to apply the 80-20 rule to the 80-20 rule. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, and you actually, it was was it just last week that you went off and you did Fall Guys? To kind of experiment with that. How did that go? Did you find the success that you thought you were going to find? Do you think that that's a long-term strategy? Would you consider adding it in? Because that's the whole point of the 80-20 rule is if you find in that 20 something that works, you want to start adding that to your strategy.
Yeah, so let me go through the full example. So if we're tossing out too many numbers and it's confusing you, here's an example. So as a content creator, I live stream Mobile Legends, and that's primarily what I do. That's primarily where I have traction. I am growing an audience there. It's working, generally speaking. But I want to try some new things every now and then to see, can I get traction elsewhere? Can I do other things that will stimulate growth for my channel, for my viewers? And so for the past 2 weeks, every once in a while, for about 20% of my time, I will stop streaming Mobile Legends and I will stream Fall Guys just to test something new. Also because my audience asked. And I don't do that the whole time. I don't permanently switch from Mobile Legends to Fall Guys. I just take 20% of the time I would spend normally streaming Mobile Legends and instead stream Fall Guys. There I'm trying something new. It went pretty much how I expected. It did not stimulate growth, but it was a fun new activity that my audience wanted to see me do and to participate in. So I think it was a pro just because it was me providing something new to my current audience and showing them that, yeah, I can do other things outside of just play Mobile Legends, which is probably good for my brand so I don't get stuck pigeonholed into a single game forever. And eventually maybe I can branch out to other titles and explore other things because my audience is at least somewhat accustomed to me doing that. So I'd say it's beneficial for my brand just because it helps add in some variety and newness. But in terms of growth, it did not really do anything of the sort. So sometimes you have to look at what are you actually looking for in trying something new. Maybe trying something new is just so that you don't burn out. Or maybe trying something new is just because you really just want to try something new because you're interested in it. And that's going to be good too. Even if not a lot of people are going to come watch it, just because you're interested in it, your current fans might like it. And they might like to see your excitement about doing something new. And it might be nice for you to be excited about doing something new. There's this interesting thing, and I'm by no means a scientist or anything like that, but there's this interesting effect when we do new things as human beings. And we tend to be routine creatures. We tend to get into a routine and do the same things every day. And I have my routine here at home with work and everything. But when we change it up, this thing happens when we're doing our routine, we do the same things every day, our mind kind of glosses over the details because it's used to it. It's used to doing those things. It doesn't need to pay attention to all the different details because we do the same things every day. But when you do something new, you activate, generally speaking, more of your brain because you have to pay attention because it's new. Your brain slows down and says, wait a second, we don't normally do this, or this is completely foreign and new to us. It becomes more rewarding for you as a human being to try new things. And it activates you more of your brain, generally speaking, because it engages you more because you have to pay attention to the details. So for that reason, just from a human standpoint, the 80-20 rule works out really, really well for us. And that's why we always recommend it. And that's why we a lot of our strategies have this just built in innately. And we've been practicing this for 10 years. And there's a reason why we keep talking about it, because it's gotten us this far. And it's something that we have talked about in past episodes, but we've never dedicated an entire episode to it. So the 80-20 rule. I'm trying to think of another great example, probably from the YouTube angle. Maybe
I actually got a question. We didn't.
Okay, let's do that instead.
We didn't get this in chat, but I have been asked this before when I've recommended it to people, and it's a legitimate concern. And I don't want to say, especially if you don't have a lot of confidence, because that's not necessarily true. If you have a lot of confidence, this can still be very true. So the 80-20 rule: 80% of what you're doing is what works. A lot of people are very, very afraid to leave that for whatever reason, because we're in this digital age of social media where people can find entertainment, snap of a finger. They don't need you. So how do you recommend people overcoming that fear of switching up their strategy to actually try the 20% rule? Is it true that they could lose a lot of their audience over that, or is that just horse crap?
I mean, if you're doing the 80-20 rule and you're going to continue to do the 80%, you won't lose them. They might not show up for that new 20%, but that doesn't mean that you've lost them. Also, if you're going to lose your audience by shifting like that and you lose them permanently, were they really your audience to begin with? I would argue that they weren't. They were only there. They weren't your audience. They were that game's audience. Ooh. And that's a key difference. You want to make your viewers be your audience, not whatever game you're playing's audience. Because do you really want to be stuck doing the same thing for years as a job? It's not going to be fulfilling. I mean, I think some people can do it. I mean, some people can. I know I personally cannot do it. I have to change it up. So make sure that you're engaging your viewers. And I liked doing the 20% new and not having everybody jump over, because it tells me, hey, these people who follow me to this new game, yeah, they love it when I play Mobile Legends or whatever, but now they're here supporting me and they want to watch me do Fall Guys in this example again. This tells me that those viewers are more dedicated fans than others. And I remember those names because those are your most important fans. And we've had in past episodes, we've talked about true fans. And this concept of you only need 1,000 true fans to be successful financially as a creator. But that's even excelled now in 2020, possibly to only 100 true fans. If that's the case, you want to know who those people are and you want to activate them and engage them directly. And one way to figure that out is to try something new and see who jumps over and follows you. Then you'll know right away who those people are, and you'll weed out all the people who they're not so serious about following you, or they follow you for reasons only based on the game that you're doing. So if you want to know how well you're doing in terms of activating true fans, trying something new will tell you the answer. How's that, Ross? Did you like that?
I love that. That was perfect, man. That was absolutely perfect. You're right. And this is why I think that everybody should be implementing the 80-20 rule. Simply because it is a great determination of where you stand as a streamer and as a content creator. It shows, just like you said, who are your true fans, who are you going to follow, but then also if you do see, on the off chance you do see a lot of people jump ship when you go for that 20% and play something that's out of the ordinary, and you don't see them come back, that also, yes, it's very true that those are not your true fans. Good riddance. If the people that you want watching your stream are the people that are going to stick around for you, not necessarily the game. But that does also open up a opportunity of improvement for you by using the 20% rule. When you see that, a large number, it's not going to be a large number, but for example, a large number of people jump ship. You go and let's say you try Fall Guys and as part of the 20%, and you see a lot of people, then they're not returning. Your views go down. That also can help you learn about what can I start doing to be more engaging with my audience while I'm running the 80% part of that strategy. And that's something that the 20% rule is going to help you kind of ease into that. You're not going to have to learn that the hard way. So I think it's important to implement it just because of that. The 80-20 rule, it's going to show you who your true fans are, but also it's going to show you where you can improve. If you're not losing anybody when you go to that 20%, then you're doing something right. The whole goal, the whole point of this, like we just said, like Andrew Parent just said with the 100 true fans, is to get the people who are there for you, not the game. So using that 20% rule can kind of show you where you stand on that and what you can do to actually improve, being more engaging and creating better relationships with the people who follow you or the people who watch your stream.
And I understand it can be tough to do the new thing, like especially like I said, because we're routine beings, we like to get into our routine, especially if you have something that is kind of working. So let's say you're doing like Minecraft video content on YouTube and it's working, generally speaking. It's tough to break out of that and try something new sometimes because it can be scary to think, well, what if I alienate my audience? Or what if this new thing like kind of breaks the momentum that I currently have? And in this example, we're talking about, you know, if you stream this other game and your other viewers don't come, do you lose those? And the answer is you don't really lose anything. That's a point why you only do it 20% of your time, because you still have the 80% core for those people to come back to. So, you know, in this Minecraft example, you try something new. Let's say you try Valorant, and like 10% of your people come watch, and they really don't care that much. Most people don't care that much, but some do. You don't lose all the people that didn't come, because you're going to go do Minecraft again in the next video, and those people who love Minecraft will be back to it. You know, you're not necessarily going to sever so much of your people by trying one new thing. Now, if you were to suddenly swap from doing regular Minecraft videos in this example to always doing Valorant, then yeah, the people who are used to seeing Minecraft videos from you, and now all they see is Valorant, they're like, well, I guess this is a Valorant channel now. I'm out, right? That's why you can't do such a drastic swap, and that's what we generally would see. This is where the 80-20 rule was born, because what we would see was creators would just make a very drastic swap, and it would destroy all of their progress. And that's what most creators are fearing when they try something new. And that's what would happen. That's why the fear exists, because of something real. It would happen because you would do a complete swap. You would say, okay, I'm done as a Minecraft YouTuber. I am all in on Valorant now. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do a full cut and swap. You will destroy everybody who was there. This is why you do the 80-20 rule. And over time, eventually maybe you can fully convert to like Valorant as your main or whatever game. If we're going to do it, continue with this gaming example, maybe over time you can. But you'll know that if you keep trying the new thing and you start to see some more traction, you follow where the opportunities are. And the 20% is all about probing for those new opportunities. Once you find one, you can follow it and you can see where it leads. See if it grows your channel. See if you get a bigger audience from there. And then if you want to, then you can kind of let the old thing go and try to convert over as much of your audience as you can. But if you do it systematically in that way, you won't break your channel, you won't break your audience, and you won't lose any of the progress that you've had. And that's the most important thing, because 5 years into the creator journey, you don't really want to be starting over again. Nope. And maybe you want to branch out to something new, but you don't want to have to start from scratch again. And that's the most important thing, is not starting from scratch.
All right. So question, and you kind of hit on this a little bit, but because at the start of the episode, you said that you saw somebody how they implemented the 80-20 rule when they were going for this 20% switch. It didn't work. How did you, when you went over and you did Fall Guys, you were doing the 80-20 rule, you decided, all right, I'm going to take a quick break from Mobile Legends, play Fall Guys. How did you approach your copy for that to where your audience knows that this isn't going to be a permanent switch? We're just trying this out. We're just having fun.
Well, I literally did it in the same live stream. So it was like I added Fall Guys at the tail end of my Mobile Legends live stream. So I did a normal live stream it was one of my Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. The first one I did was on Friday, I did a 2 hour, I just started Fall Guys and I did 2 hour Fall Guys. So what I did was I primed my audience leading up to it. So first of all, it was on my audience. They were the reason that this even happened because they're like, hey, Astral, are you going to play Fall Guys? And we want to see you play it. And they kept asking me, and they kept asking me all week long. I'm like, okay, you know what? On Friday, I'll probably try it Friday. Because Friday is like, I only do one of my streams. I normally stream twice in a day. And I only do one on Fridays. So, and it's only a 2 hour one. So it'll be a smaller one. So it'll be a nice testing period. So I said, Friday, I'll do it Friday. It's normally after we do all of the other cool event stuff for Mobile Legends in the week. And Friday is normally kind of a bonus stream anyway. So I'll try it new then. I let them all know that I was going to be trying something new. And I let them know when it was going to happen. And then I followed up then with Facebook, scheduling the stream, etc., social media, showing pictures of me like downloading the game on Steam or whatever, so that people knew, my audience knew, hey, I'm doing Fall Guys for this stream. What that led to then in the future was then at the tail end of Mobile Legends streams, my audience saying, hey, do Fall Guys now. Do Fall Guys before you're going to, for 30 minutes before you're done. And then at the very tail end of streams, I would add that in at the very tail end sometimes. So prime your audience, let them know you're going to try something new so it's not so jarring, right? You might interest them. Like if they show up one day, the thing is you don't want them to have an idea of what you're going to deliver on and then deceive them. Like if they're expecting Mobile Legends this day, I should deliver on Mobile Legends this day. If suddenly I show up with Valorant, they're going to be like, what the heck? What are you doing, Astral? Why are you playing Valorant? Maybe some of them will be like randomly curious, but they're going to be thrown off because it's not what they expected. But if you prime them and you communicate to them that, hey, I'm going to be doing this at this time, then they'll expect it. And then you can deliver on expectations. So that's important too, to not deceive them, but to deliver on their expectations and set their expectations properly by communicating what your content is going to be about and using your scheduling, which you should be doing, to properly communicate what your new content lineup is going to be.
All right, last question, because we've only got about 1 or 2 minutes left here. The 80-20 rule, because you just brought up scheduling. Do you ever apply that to scheduling? As far as you're gonna, because I know you do kind of the same time period every day. Do you ever switch it up and try a different time? Would the
Yes.
80-20 rule even apply to that?
Yeah. So I do this thing where I don't normally stream on weekends or do content on weekends, but every once in a while I do. But I don't tell. So I guess this is less of a scheduled thing because it's not scheduled. But that's kind of the point. I call it like the weekend surprise stream. So no one knows when it'll be coming or if it will be coming. It might just randomly happen. And normally when I do those, they're new. Normally I would do Mobile Legends, but sometimes I will stream something totally new. And they do well because they're a random surprise. And my audience likes that. They like the random welcome surprise because they generally have been asking me to see content from me on the weekends, but I generally don't do it. But every once in a while, I surprise them by delivering on that. And so that's a way of me doing something new in terms of changing up my schedule, because that way my weekends can be a little bit different. And that gives me flexibility where I don't have to commit to it. But if I'm totally feeling like I want to do an extra stream, I can just do it. And that breaks up the routineness of my life, which is nice. And so I've done something like that. But I don't know if it exactly answers the question because it's more unstructured. It's not scheduled.
Yeah.
Trying new time periods, I haven't been doing that recently. I mean, I guess if I look back to when I first shifted into Mobile Legends, I was streaming in the mornings. I would stream right after I would do this podcast. And when I started also testing evening streams my time and found that they were actually doing better. And so now that evening block has become like my main block instead of my morning block is a little bit more, I can scrap it if I want to. But the evening block is far more important because I decided to do an extra stream in the evening just to test and see. And over time, as I've tested more of those, I'm like, hey, I'm getting way more traction during this time period. And even more so than my regular time period. And so now my regular time period is more, it's just a bonus. I can take it or leave it. And that evening time period, I've shifted over there because I've tried something new in the schedule. And that's also broken up my routine. So I can try something a little bit different in the evenings. my life gets tossed around a little bit, so it can be new. It's not the same routine. It's a little bit different. So yes, experimenting 80-20 rule with new time periods also works as well, and you should also try that too.
I love it. Okay, 80-20 rule, because we got to balance 80-20 rule. 80% do what you know that works. 20% challenge yourself. Do something new. Do something to break up the routine. Add a little mystery into your character. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to follow. This was your daily drop. Full replays available on YouTube. If you missed any hot tips or just want to see us again, subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Give us a nice rating. We're literally on every platform. We will be back tomorrow. Happy creating.